Ladies and gentlemen, it's my pleasure to welcome Mr. Neil Cawse, CEO of Geotab, our founding partner. Neil will present a deep dive presentation called Lives Saved by Telematics. So please stay with us.
All right, good morning, good afternoon, folks. My presentation here is to talk about lives saved by telematics and to give everybody an insight into how telematics can be used to improve safety. So first part of the presentation is to talk about how does telematics work to actually improve safety and reduce deaths on the road and accidents. First thing to understand is that customers buy telematics for very different reasons. We have 6 pillars that we normally talk about with telematics. One of the pillars is the safety pillar. I personally believe that the safety pillar is perhaps the most important pillar, not just because human lives matter, but also because safety actually ends up reducing costs significantly. So we talk extensively about the safety pillar. So today that's what we're focusing on. First of all, to talk about the technology that's involved in saving lives. The first piece, if you go onto a website like Wikipedia and you Google, what is it that leads to accidents? You'll find various factors contribute to people having accidents. The most important one is speeding. The next one would be time of day when you drive, not paying attention. Obviously, fatalities increase when you don't wear your seatbelt. So what Geotab has done is we've targeted each of these and we've seen what we can do using telematics to reduce this. So the first one, for example, would be posted road speed versus actual. So it's not just good enough to know what is my speed on the road. I have to know what is the speed limit at that location. So a big part of telematics is making sure that you know on that highway you can go at 100 kilometers an hour. On this highway, on this rural road over here, you can only go 40 kilometers an hour, or if you're in front of a school zone. So that is an important part of how telematics can actually make sure that you're driving at the speed limit you need to, because we all know that speed kills. The next thing is making sure that people use seatbelt. I was shocked to find that only 92% of American drivers use their seatbelt every day. And that means there's still 8% not using their seatbelt. So telematics can actually, through talking to sensors or talking to the engine computer, make sure that you actually are wearing your seatbelt, and therefore if there is an accident, you can reduce the likelihood of serious injury. The next point is after hours usage. One of the big contributing factors to accidents is the time of day the vehicle is driven. So if it's driven very late at night, people are drowsy, perhaps they've been at the bar, and that is not a good time to be driving. So you can put rules in, for example, to ensure that you're not driving during these difficult times. The next thing is risk and safety reports, really to assess, for example, how many times a driver is harsh braking, so you can tell that they're not paying attention by the fact that they're braking late and therefore increasing the deceleration when they brake. And if you aggregate these over a person's day, you can start seeing who is a better driver and who's a worse driver. And by generating these reports, you can start comparing one driver versus the other, very important. And you can start rating the different drivers and you can show them trend reports. Are they getting better and are they getting worse? So technology is really important here. You can see very clearly how using telematics can look at the very heart of what causes accidents, and you can use it to reduce the likelihood of accidents. A very interesting example of how we use it at Geotab is in-vehicle coaching. So a bit of research shows that the best way to change driver behavior in order to make them safer is to give them immediate feedback. It doesn't help that you bring them into the office at the end of the week or the end of the day and you say, here, I've got a report for you. You had 7 harsh braking incidents or you were speeding over here. What is far more effective is if you can tell the driver as it happens that they have an infraction or they haven't done the right thing, and thereby changing their behavior. And this is an example of one of the things that we do, and I'm sure others do too, is we have a little speaker in your vehicle and you actually talk to the driver and you say, you know, you're speeding at this particular time, or you've just had a harsh braking incident. And you can create rules on the server side that say under what circumstances these are acceptable or not acceptable. That in-vehicle coaching is incredibly effective at changing driver behavior and reducing the cost of accidents. In addition to just raw telematics, there are hundreds of solutions that are available to help with the reduction of accidents and improve safety. So for example, on our marketplace, these are the categories of solutions that we have, and connected sensors and others all relate to safety, but I'll talk about two in particular, camera and ADAS. So this is where you can install extra hardware in your vehicle that connects to your telematics system that really then makes sure, for example, that the driver is not distracted, that can help in cases where you need to know who is at fault. So the cameras are recording video inside and outside the vehicle. That can help in improving safety. Another one is driver management and training. There are many third-party solutions that help with various elements here. So one of the partners, for example, will take a feed of data and will analyze how each of your drivers are driving. And if a particular driver is not driving well, they will actually then schedule that driver in for training, educate the driver on what they're not doing right. You're not wearing your seatbelt, or you need to, think about this, the posted road speed, and then they will monitor the driver. And so it's a service that they offer to telematics customers that will then automatically train their drivers. So they don't have to worry about the training elements. They just know that their drivers are safe. That's one example. Another example, an interesting use case that I saw, was gamification. So we know that everybody likes games these days, and you play games on your cell phone. Well, one of the partners has turned this idea of improving safety into a game. So the drivers all install an app on their phone, and that connects to the telematics system, and then it evaluates how safely they're driving. And at the end of the day, you get a score and you get points based on how well and how safely you've driven. So turning it into a game, you can even offer bonuses based on who won the safety that day. And that's another powerful solution to actually changing driver behavior. Another example here of how telematics is used, for example, is in accident reconstruction. So in the case of Geotab, we can do things like we can detect backups, we can detect accidents, and then we can reconstruct what actually happened in an accident. And this becomes important when it comes to litigation, knowing whether your driver was at fault or being able to exonerate your driver to prove that the other person was at fault. And so telematics is commonly used for that. We have an add-in in our software that allows us to reconstruct in very high detail what happened in an accident. And this can be very, very useful in a legal circumstance. In many cases, the telematics provider will be called up, or maybe called up as an expert witness in a court case, to actually exonerate the driver and help make sure that the litigation claims are reduced. Another thing is using data. Data is really the future. There's tremendous power in the data that you can gather through telematics. One of them is, for example, to be able to tell which of the areas are hazardous and which areas drivers should slow down in. So these are new areas that are being explored by telematics service providers. Another one is benchmarking. If we know how a vehicle is being used by a particular driver, we can then compare their safety ratings against other drivers that do similar kind of driving. So, for example, if you do long-haul driving across the country, we know what your accident rates should be, and we can benchmark you, and we can tell for any vehicle that's doing long-haul driving, how are you comparing? And this is really the future of telematics. I want to talk a little bit now about a case study. Orkin Pest Control is the case study. So who is Rollins Orkins? It's a US company that is a large company that has over 10,000 trucks. It operates in more than 400 US locations. The amazing thing is they have saved over $50 million since 2005 through the use of telematics. And I'm going to quickly show you how they were able to do that. Here is the ROI breakdown from a safety perspective per year using telematics. Orkin was able to reduce their workers' compensation claims by over $1 million. They were able to reduce their auto damage claims by over $500,000 for their pool of vehicles. They were able to reduce their auto liability claims by over $2 million. This is per year. When you add those numbers up, you get $3.5 million per year. Since they've been using telematics since the early 2000s, that is a massive saving. And just to kind of give you the numbers, before they started employing telematics, they had more than 12,000 claims a year. 1996, 12,000 claims. After telematics, there were only 4,700. Really, really interesting. But now the important thing to realize is that safety is not just about telematics. You need a full safety program. Telematics is one of the elements of a safety program. So you need to put in rules, and you need to monitor those rules, and you need to make sure that drivers are complying. You need to incentivize the drivers as well. So for example, the rules that were employed at Auckland, if you drive more than 140 kilometers an hour, you may be dismissed, and then you're allowed to have the infractions as listed. So it may sound strict, but these regulations are very, very important, and they have significantly reduced the cost to Auckland, as well as enhanced the safety of all employees and the public. And it has really been a very, very successful program for them. So I know there are some concerns when it comes to safety about Big Brother, but obviously safety matters. And you can read the quote, really, telematics can make a massive difference in terms of the safety program in your organization, and a very real substantial difference to the bottom line and to improving your safety for your drivers and for the public. And so really consider using telematics in your company and for your environment. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Cawse. It was a really interesting deep dive presentation, and I think the audience has learned a lot. And thank you once again for your support and the support of Geotab. And now, please let me introduce you, Karina Uribe from Pfizer. Karina will explain you how successfully we need to develop a safety policy across Latin America. Karina, the floor is yours.
Hello, everyone. I'm very excited to be part of this virtual Fleet Latam Conference 2020. And I'm also very glad that I can share with you some of my experience on the fleet safety program and safety policies. I'm sure that this will help you for all the fleet managers that might be building their policy, or for those of you who already have in place your policy, but there might be some tips that can help for you. And I would like to start talking about the strategy of the company, strategy of vehicle fleet, and mobility strategies. As you can see, all these strategies have something in common. They work together because they work to the same side. And that direction is safety and security. Safety and security must be the priority for our people, for our colleagues, employees, pedestrians. That might be the first thing of the mission. And how can we get to that mission? Well, establishing a culture for colleagues, preventive culture, reduction of collisions and liability costs, minimize fatalities and injuries, and this will increase our productivity, alignment with industry practice, and minimize risk while driving. Of course, driving a vehicle is one of the highest risk of the companies. And how can we get to that mission? Well, there are some key steps that we have to take into consideration if we want to have a very good implementation of your safety program. First of all, we have to have commitment of the senior leadership teams. This is very important. Establish roles and responsibilities is also fundamental in your program. Why? Because in the past, maybe you have a safety program, but maybe just fleet owns the program, and maybe you have to do everything in the company. So establishing roles for everybody, for senior leadership teams, for managers, employees, areas, etc., that is very helpful, so everybody knows what to do. The creation of safety committee is also very important because these committees are the ones who orchestrate the whole program. They review initiatives, they review performance, they take decisions, they follow a lot of data that might have risk things, or can take initiatives. Also, active participation is very important to have sponsors, especially in Salesforce. As we know, for example, in pharmaceutical companies, we have a lot of people from Salesforce, and we must have these kind of sponsors. They help a lot to the program. And and finally, clear expectations for everybody, for all the roles that we talked before, but especially for drivers. And now that we have said the first things, well, now we can create initiatives. Of course, we can have a lot of initiatives, and also this depend of the industry that you are working. In my case, these initiatives that I'm sharing with you today are the ones that I think are the most important, or at least must have every program. And first, we have to start with a selection of the vehicles. We must have safety vehicles, and how we do that? Well, we have to validate crash testing ratings, safety and security equipment, TCOs, and CO2 emissions. And of course, we must have a very good maintenance program, a preventive, a corrective maintenance, tire replacement criteria, fuel optimization. And now that we set the first initiatives, that is to have a safe vehicle, well, now we can proceed with your trainings. And this kind of trainings, safety trainings, can be online driving trainings, behind the wheel trainings. Very important thing is driving certification before giving a car. And last, the use of telematics. The use of telematics today, it's really important, because telematics now can give us a lot of data that will be very helpful for our program. These kind of vendors are key players in your program. As we can see, safety data is also fundamental, because here is all data, good or wrong. Here's where we can create scorecards for leadership team, for safety committees. We can have also vehicle records, infractions, all kind of collision tracking. And last, recognition programs. We need to have these kind of programs to recognize those people achievements. Of course, we also will go in the next slides. We also have to see those people that are not complying with the program. And here are some other important activities that must have your program, your safety program. To achieve very good results, we also have to have continuous assessment, a lot of prevention instead of corrections, policy acknowledgement, ensure that trainings are completed by your employees. The safety committee that we talk, they orchestrate the whole program with dashboard, management reportings to the supervisors, the recognition program that we talk, and escalate non-participation. This is also important. And also one key driver is the communications, newsletters, safety tips. Today we can have a lot of tools to communicate a lot of tips. We have apps, we have mobile phones. We can get to the colleagues at every time and everywhere. And also evaluate the program's effectiveness. We need to know what's working good and what's not working. We need to evaluate if we have to change something, take decisions, and make changes. And goal settings to continuous improvement, of course. Now, the safety program results that we can expect if we do all these kind of initiatives is reductions of collisions, reduction of your last time injuries of your employees, the change of driver behavior, because at the beginning, um, they don't have the behavior that we want. And after you have all these settings of initiatives, your drivers understand why the company is doing this for them. And after that, I see sometimes that they extend their behaviors to their families, because now they believe in the program, on the safety program. The ownership of the program is now for everybody, not only for one department, for one area. The ownership now belongs to everybody, belongs to directors, to managers, to different areas, and to drivers, of course. Also, Having a regional and global governments in the program is very important because every country must have a driver and they have to align to the global policies. As we say, individual targets, that helps a lot because now it's not only the target of one area, now it's the target for everybody. So they put a lot of attention and effort to reduce collisions. And you have a lot of visibility of the performance of the program because now you have data, you have results, you can have a lot of information today. And last, of course, when you have an implementation, when you implement a program, of course you're going to have obstacles as in everywhere. The obstacles that I can share with you, and I think they are very general, it's different levels of maturity across markets. In my case, that I manage Latin America, I can see that market to market is very different. There is resistance of cultural change and behaviors. As we talked at the beginning, they have a very resistance to behaviors. Data accuracy and collection, that was also one of the biggest stoppers because accuracy and sometimes collection country to country was very hard or with some vendors. Lack of ownership in country, as we say, they don't, at the beginning, they don't own the safety program. So we have to work a lot on this, on ownership. So this works very well. And how we overcome to these obstacles, what are the best practices of all this? Well, the lesson learned especially, well, it's communication. Communication with leadership teams since the beginning is very important, and keep them, of course, in communication through the whole process. Collaboration and partnership with other areas is also very important because it's not only one area. Here you have finance, you have sales force people, you have communication areas, etc. You have to have partnership with different areas inside of the company, and also partnerships outside of the company. You need to have your vendor partners, that they are very important. We have to have maybe telematic vendors, insurance brokers, etc. We have a lot of partners that can help a lot with your program. Simplicity is also today especially very important because today we have a lot of information, a lot of things around you. So the colleagues, our employees, what they need is simplicity on everything we share with them. And last and finally, alignment to global policy is also very important, as we say, because we need to follow global guidelines and criteria. Okay, and finally, I hope this information helped you a lot. This is the under the perspective of company, of course. I'm always being in the pharmaceutical company. Maybe some other vendors have a different perspective, but this is my perspective from a company. Hope this helped you a lot, and please enjoy the next presentations of the conference. Thank you very much for your time.
Karina, thank you very much for explaining how to set up a good and strong safety management. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome on stage Mr. Louis Silvera from Philip Morris International. Louis is going to share more details about the fleet safety strategy of his company, with a focus on telematics and the importance of being open to safety innovation.
Hello. I will share what we are doing in testing in Brazil regarding technology to help the safety of our employees. I will tell about the fleet, what we set as a fleet safety program, the technology supporting safety and the drivers, the case in Brazil, results and learnings. Who we are. PMI is a leading international tobacco company We are designing a smoke-free future, and we are committed to sustainability. What about our fleet? We have 24,000 cars, 8% working tool, 20% benefit cars, and those are the numbers, that percentage in our regions, across the globe. And I would like to remark that in our region, Latin America and Canada, the number is 15%. How we manage fleet safety in PMI? So we are based on 3 pillars: governance and engagement, where we define roles and responsibilities, the fleet safety committees, and of course the management review. The second pillar is leadership, where we define management commitment, principles and practice defined by fleet safety policies, and expectation goals or targets. Each year we define targets for the results. In terms of process, we in all markets, we need to have risk assessment for drivers and also for the environment. We have process to hire employees who will drive a company car. We have driver risk assessment in order to define correct training. We have the performance recognition line to a penalty program. For vehicles, we have a selection and maintenance process managed by the fleet area. And to be in compliance with all those elements, we have the baseline assessment. And every year we need to check this baseline assessment. Before we start in the case in Brazil, I would like to tell that all cars in Brazil have the telematic device. And of course, we have data from those devices as harsh acceleration, hard braking, sharp cornering, and overspeeding. So let's talk about the Brazilian case. The fleet size in Brazil is 800 vehicles. The name of this program is Focus on Life, or Foco na Vida, and we start this program in June this year. This program is based on overspeeding from the telematics. So all drivers receive points according to overspeeding cases monthly. So if you can see in the right of the slide, is the table shows the speed limit in each the speed limit in cities and highways, and the speed that the drivers receive points if the overspeeding is like showed in the table. An example: if the speed limit is 60, so over than 67 kilometers per hour, the driver receives a point. So each driver has a limit of limit for overspeed cases per month. So from 50 to 80 cases per month, there is a phasing penalty. So notification, suspension, and dismiss. Over than 80 cases per month, we have a different approach, more aggressive penalties in a short period. And of course, we have a recognition for top 10 drivers with less overspeeding cases. It's an award. It's like a dinner with the family, so the guys receive an award. What about the results? So in terms of number of overspeeding, as we can see here in this graphic, up to 20% over the speed limit, the reduction from 80,000 to 28,000, between 20 and 50% over of the speed limit, 31,000 to 16,000, and over than over the speed limit, 16,000 to 6,000. So it's a good reduction since May. Number of overspeeding, more than 10 seconds at 110 kilometers per hour. As we can see here, the reduction since May from 562 to 19. It's a good result. In terms of fines, a huge reduction from 16 in March or 35 in May to just 1 in August. Hard braking, again, a good reduction in terms of events related to hard braking. And another good result is the consumption of the combustible, and as we can see here, an increasing of kilometers per liter. It's a trend, and this is another objective of this program that we are checking. So results and learnings, of course, leadership involvement. They don't want to notify their teams. So we are improving the safety mindset. Drivers' involvement, again, improve the safety mindset. Drivers' better behaviors reduction. When we start this program last month, we notified 230 drivers. So the idea is to notify them, and of course, this is a pilot, and after 3 months, we are going to use the right penalty with right notification. Right now, we are just notifying the guys. A lot of drivers' feedback relate to speed limits in cities, roads, tolls. So they are now aware of the speed limit in all roads and highways. So they are driving now, checking the speed. Based on all feedbacks, the program was reviewed. So the idea is to check with them if the program is okay. Of course, we need to reduce the fleet events. High potential events reduction in medium term, we are going to see this. Traffic fines reduction per month. So this is good for the drivers because they need to pay when they are responsible for those fines. Fleet safety is part of the agenda. So we are talking a lot regarding safety in all meetings with sales and distribution managers, leaders. And the recognition program is a celebration. So positive and good behavior are the objective of this program. And of course, combustible and CO2 reduction, another objective of this program is going, we are seeing good results. So thank you, gracias.
Thank you very much, Luis, for convincing us that embracing technology and innovation leads to fleet safety excellence in Latin America. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have a live session, a live Q&A, together with Colin Sutherland of Geotab, Karina Uribe of Pfizer, and of course, Luis Silvera of Philip Morris International. And you can ask your questions to our experts.